All right, there we go. Just went ahead and got it started. We'll make sure everyone's getting settled in there. Okay, there we go. Looks like people are getting in the room. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of SEO from Home. My name is Ben Jacobson. I am the digital marketing strategist for Page One Power here in Boise, Idaho. We're super excited to have you guys back with us for another episode. If you haven't watched any of our previous episodes of SEO from Home, this is our series online that we're putting together to kind of help keep the SEO community connected while a lot of us are still working from home. And being able to give you guys some information, some actionable tips, and just hopefully some interesting insight that you can put into use on your own SEO practices. If you guys want to watch any of the previous episodes, see what it's all about, you can do that over at pageonepower.com, and we have all those episodes up under our blog section there. Today we're back with Brie Anderson. She's the owner of Beast Analytics, and she's going to be talking with us today about how to use SEO analytics to prove value. So this is something I think that is going to be massively valuable for in-house SEOs, agencies, freelancers, basically anyone who's trying to argue their case of why it's valuable to do SEO. And I think that pretty much encompasses all of the SEO community. So we're going to let Brie take it away from here. We're super excited. Brie, welcome.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I think that is actually a very good point. So especially during times like this, like the very first budget to be cut, whether it's smart or not, is always marketing. And because SEO takes such a long time, sometimes it can take such a long time to prove that there is actually value coming from it. Hopefully people can get some really tangible actions that they can go out and do and start proving that value. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, make sure we're good. Everything.
Yeah, looks good over here. And if you guys, of course, have any questions, be sure to chime in. Pop down into that Q&A button at the bottom and pop your questions in there, and we'll be sure to answer those as best we can.
Yeah, so I'm going to do like just a quick introduction here, and then I'm going to actually go through and do some live walkthrough. So if you have any questions or any part that you want me to do again or clarification, like Ben said, go ahead and just drop those in the comment. So yeah, SEO analytics, that's what we're talking about today. Because the very first thing that our clients like to ask us is, how is this going to make money? Where is my money going to go? How is this going to be valuable? And just some very quick tips on this. You want to be upfront about your plans and the actual things that you are able to deliver. So don't be the person that's like, we're going to get you first on Google, right? Because as we all know, nothing is really promised in that sense. And you never, and two, like that's not going to mean anything to them if they're asking for value. Just saying, oh, we're going to get you #1 in Google. Like that sounds good, but what does that actually mean for them? I saw Will Reynolds speak at MozCon, and he gets so fired up and passionate. I love it. But his #1 thing is always like, you got to take it back to the money, because that's what they care about, right? So define those, be upfront with your plans, define your objectives. If you go into a campaign with no goal, then you're never going to reach it. That's kind of the problem. And so once you have your objectives, then you need to set those KPIs and track the KPIs, have everything in place to be able to track those KPIs. So basically what this boils down to is, if you have no goal, you have no success. Because you don't have something to work towards, and the client is always going to be saying, well, we didn't get X or we didn't get Y, because you never set out exactly what you were going towards. I actually teach at the local tech school here, and that's like the first thing I teach people when we go into digital strategy is, if you have no goal, you can't be successful. They're always going to find something else to reach for, right? And it's way better to over deliver than it is to under deliver. So make sure you're being reasonable with the goals that you set. And when you're creating those goals, always define your scope. This is kind of just like goal setting 101 and really just like client onboarding 101. But these are things that we tend to forget that all go back to the value of your work in the client's eyes. So make sure you define that scope. Say, all right, I delivered on this. And if maybe there's some things they have to implement, some things you have to implement, what have you. So make sure you have that scope designed or defined, and make sure you have start and end dates. Even if these are like benchmarks, So, you know, we're going to hit X by this time, or we're going to have this many changes made by this time, whatever the goal is. And then, like I said, have an end goal. So defining your measurables in SEO, we have a lot of different things that we can track, and value can look different for people. For instance, if you're selling a jet, you're probably not going to be getting 30 sales every week. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't imagine you are.
Hope so.
If you are, I'm up for hire, so we can work on that. But so that conversion might be something different. It might be a form fill, and then they know the lifetime value of that form fill, or how many more touch points they have, right? So these are just a few different things we might track. We might track conversion or conversion value, but we might, if this is more of like getting started, you know, impressions, traffic, referral traffic, if you're doing some sort of PR or backlink campaign, new users. I know some people track that, some people don't. It's just, again, this is all kind of up to you and your client. And then even rankings, sometimes those can be what people want to see, or what they're going to see as their value. Just a quick note about data. Most all data is pulled off of estimates. So these aren't hard and fast numbers. That's just something to be reminded of before we jump into this. I know, you know, everywhere that I'm pulling from, it's all estimated data. And so we are proving ballpark figures here. And I highly suggest that you don't depend on one data source, and that you are pulling from a few different sources. However, you know, if you're just getting started, Google Analytics is a great place to start. And I will show you in here actually where you can see how much of their traffic, or your traffic, they're actually tracking, and how they're pulling the estimates off of that. So the first thing you're going to want to do before you get started is make sure that all the tracking is set up, and that it's set up correctly. A lot of people forget this step too, so that makes it very, very hard to prove value. So you want to make sure you have Google Analytics set up, and that it's actually capturing data. You want to set up all of your properties. Make sure you connect to Search Engine Console. That's really important for SEO tracking. Make sure you set up filters to filter out all of like the employees' IP addresses, any sort of bot traffic or spam traffic you might get, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure you set up those goals. Remember, we talked about KPIs. In order to accurately track those KPIs, we need to have the goals set up in Google Analytics so we can see what is and isn't working. And then creating a dashboard. I like to use dashboards in Google Analytics because a lot of clients aren't going to want to get into Google Analytics. And, you know, we send reports, but it's nice for them to be able to, for you to be able to say, you can check the progress at any time right here. Just go to this one dashboard. I've done this for a lot of clients, and it makes them feel better about the money that they're spending. Search Console, I've already said something about them, but just make sure you have Search Console set up at a domain level, and that it's connected to Google Analytics, obviously, like we said. And as that double check, whatever your SEO platform of choice is, Moz, Rank Ranger, Ahrefs, SEMrush, whatever you want to use. I like to do an initial audit just kind of for whatever errors that system is going to catch, grabbing the benchmarks for rankings. Again, this is one of those things that we tend to forget. Make sure you have like an initial document, like this is where they are when we start. And then, you know, select the keywords you're focused on and set up tracking for those, grabbing the benchmarks for backlinks, which is again kind of just in that initial audit, and then also connecting to Google Analytics and Search Console. The point of all of this is to make sure that we have enough data to actually bring in tangible numbers and deliverables for our clients. Okay, so that's kind of just my spiel on goal setting here. And the importance of all of this. Now I'm going to jump into Google Analytics here. This is just the Google demo account. So if you want to follow along, you have the demo account set up on your computer. Feel free to kind of follow along. Our numbers should be the same. I'm pretty sure that's how this works. So The first thing that I like to do, and again, remember this is all estimated numbers. So, and Google likes to track some things and not track other things. So these are all ballpark numbers. But the easiest way to look at how SEO is working is to look at your organic traffic. And Google has actually already pre-created a segment in here. So if you choose the segment from list, if you just go down to organic traffic and press apply, this is all organic traffic, not just Google. It's DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, Bing, the whole gamut. I like to see both of these at the same time, all users versus just organic traffic, but you can always remove the all users and just look at organic traffic by hitting this little arrow and selecting remove. Then you're only going to be able to see the organic traffic. So I'm going to turn these back on real quick. So the first thing that I like to look at, again, some people look at it, some people don't, is the new users we brought in from organic traffic. So again, ideally you would know the lifetime value of a new user or a new session, whatever that is. And if you know the lifetime value of a new user, or like the potential value of a user, then you just multiply that number by the organic users that you brought in. Ideally, you're going to track this over time too. So even if you're not attaching a monetary value to it, you can track it over time and show when that number starts to go up that you are indeed making a change and you're bringing more traffic to the website from organic. Now, if we go to look at whether or not these are like qualified users, so it's great if you bring in new users from broad keywords, but if they're not coming to the website and doing anything of substance, then that's not really great all the time. So I like to go to this active user view. So this is all under audience. So we were just at overview, now we're at audience active users, and we can kind of see the trend of organic users to all users, or we could do non-organic traffic. But so this is just the 1 day active user. I like to kind of toggle around through these and see if there's any differences, because I mean, all the numbers are down here too. I'm a visual person, so I always look at the graphs, but all the numbers are down here as well. So you can see kind of like how people are coming from organic and interacting with the website. So you can see that our numbers are pretty flat here. And let's see. So I don't like that they make them lighter on here. Like ideally you would look at this and see that our organic, what we want is our organic users to be active over a longer period of time than the people coming in from other sources. So let's see here. I messed up because I usually use this on orange and blue, but anyways, so I like to look at this and just kind of see what our numbers look like in active users. Sometimes they'll ask, sometimes they won't ask, but that's a nice visual for everyone to look at. Now, the real numbers actually come into play when we get into our conversions. So whether you're e-commerce, if you're e-commerce, this is usually really easy because all of the numbers are built right into the platform. But if you are doing goal setting, so I have a client where we have people sign up for free trials, but we know most free trials, people that sign up for free trials, on average, we're going to make $47 from those people. And so we have that set up, like we have a goal of setting up as a free trial, and we just put that monetary value on the users so that we can track the organic value that we're bringing in. So like I said, with e-commerce, super easy. The all of the information is right here, but you can see like from all of the revenue that's been generated, there's been $13,000 generated. But if you have the segment up for organic traffic, you can see that 9,900, so almost $10,000 of that revenue was actually brought in by organic. In that the conversion rate is actually higher than the site average for organic. So I wonder, I actually didn't check this. I don't know. I was going to see if they have like a non-organic. I just thought about this. New users, non-bounce line.
Do like paid and referral, right?
Yeah, or you can just create your own. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. New segment. And then I will do conditions, medium. Does not contain organic. So this is going to exclude all of our organic. Yep. So see, that's 46 and this is 54. So we got the right thing here.
Cool.
So non-organic. Save. Come on. And so I'm going to remove this here. So even better, this is great. This makes us look really good. So our conversion rate is more than double from organic than from non-organic. Now, something to remember is that this is the ideal situation. Like this is what you should be seeing. You should be seeing that the majority of your traffic comes from organic, that the majority of your traffic, the majority of your conversions are coming from organic. That's the ideal situation here, right? But if you track this over time, again, you're able to prove that you're making a bigger difference. But at the end of the day, all clients want to see is the value, and you can show them the value right here. Whatever 55 times 178 is, this, then you know that you've brought in this much money. So if they're paying you a retainer over time, this was over, what is this, like the last quarter or something? I don't know. I picked a random date range just so we had enough data here. But then you can kind of show them their return on investment, right? So looking at the revenue, obviously against organic versus non-organic, that conversion rate is a really big one too, because it just shows that that audience is so much more qualified. Let's see. Another thing that I like to do, which is really quite nerdy, is if we go back to, let's see, how did I do this last time? If we go to, I don't think e-commerce shows up in here, but behavior, site content, all pages. So organic traffic makes up 48% of all of our page views. There are a million different ways you can find that number, but that was just the first one that I could remember. But it makes up, what did we just see with our conversions? Like 70 some odd percent. Oh, well, the number was right there. So yeah, it makes up 54%. Sorry about that. 54% of all of our organic traffic. And it makes up, let's see, 9,000 divided by, got to pull up my calculator here.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show how much more valuable that is, because I mean,
Right.
that's the range of value, or the range between the amount of traffic coming in is, basically a span of 10%. But if you're looking at the revenue that it's generating, obviously it's accounting for a far heavier share than what the equivalent, or what the equivalency of the traffic is.
Right. So this makes up for 54% of traffic, but it makes up for 75% of all of the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I mean, like you're saying, the difference between those two things just shows how much more valuable that traffic is going to be. So let's see here. So what I like to do, like I said, is I like to go in and create dashboards. So analytics dashboards are kind of old school now, just because we have Data Studio, which if you haven't played with Data Studio and you like analytics, that's the place to be, because it's a lot of fun. But
Really like Data Studio.
Yeah. So I like the dashboards, like I said, because it's easier for clients to jump into and they can just see all of the information right here. So the biggest thing that they're going to look for right away is this total value. So this is the value we've brought in through organic traffic over the last, again, whatever, I picked a weird time frame. But we can see all of this is just organic numbers. So I put in the organic users, so how many people or devices, depending on, we've brought in the sessions and the page views, and that just goes to show like how active those people are they coming back? Are they actually going through the site? Number of new users. Like I said, I like to have the graph just so they can hopefully see growth over time. So, you are going to have to teach them how to change the date ranges, but that's very small compared to the rest of analytics. So showing them how to understand this and see, I mean, ideally it'd be kind of something like this, where you just see the numbers going up over time. E-commerce conversion rate, again, so if you don't have e-commerce, you would just come in and add a widget, and this would probably just be some sort of, so this is a table. The dimension would be, what did I just say? Source medium. So I'll show you how I do this. So this is source medium, and then we would just pick a goal. So if we said that it was our engaged users, I don't know, this is what they have in here. But this goal ideally would be like a form fill, a contact us, get a quote, referral, I don't know, all those fun things. And then you would add the filter like I did in the last view. So you just go to medium, and it contains organic, or you could not do organic. It doesn't, like this isn't just organic, but these are all the organic ones, because this is a number. I was proving rates here, but this is the number. So you can see that, we're pulling in all these engaged users. This is, like I said, though, that e-commerce rate, just because it is, I mean, they're seeing dollar signs here, and that our organic is, comparatively speaking, a lot higher than the majority of like our referrals. Even our ads, they're doing better than our ads, which again, if that's a cold traffic, that makes sense that it's going to be higher. That's what we want. So if we took this filter out, we would see kind of the same thing over here. So yeah, organic, far more engaged than even like the people that are coming from referrals, ads, affiliates, etc. So
it's like Carrie was asking, can you compare ROI of PPC versus organic SEO?
Yeah, so this, what I would do, I'm trying to figure out if this would make sense. I'm just going to pull it down here so we can see them side by side. So I have the total value. Like I said, this is just from organic, right? And I have the medium containing organic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this. So this is going to show the, okay, I guess that shows the value. You might have to do some math on the back end. I also love Excel sheets, so that might be what you have to do in this instance. But they had, or what did they call it? CPC here. So you would just take what you've spent on CPC, divide that, and then you would get your ROI. If that answers the question, I think you could actually, this can be return on ad spend. Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure they'll do that. So you could do it that way too, if that's easier. Just depends on how you want to look at it. But personally, I would keep that just at, see, like they're negative. That's no point now. I would keep it at the total value just so they're seeing dollar signs and they know they can compare the two easily off the top of their head.
Sense.
And it makes you look really good, ideally.
Looks like we had another question. Dan asks, looking at total organic traffic or total organic orders, how can you pinpoint that this came from your marketing work and not some outside influence? For example, a seasonal trend or a trade show that caused users to search for the client's company name.
Right. So that is a very good question. So there are a couple different ways. That's kind of why I like to look at trend lines. So you know if it's seasonal, you could do year-over-year data and see if that's if it's similar from last year. You can look at a trend line and see if there's like a very obvious like seasonality to it. You can also look at, so if you go to behavior, site content, all page, well, not all pages, let's do landing pages. That'll be a lot easier so I don't have to add in. Let's see, landing pages. Then you know obviously where people are coming in. And so if you have people that are looking because you posted something from a conference, you could find them in here. Again, you would just uncheck that, change it to organic, and you would see where people are coming in from organic traffic. So you'll see too, like certain blog posts or what have you. Again, these are things that, and I was going to make a note of this, these are the things that we would be tracking as SEOs that prove that we're doing our job. But all the metrics that I was just showing you was to show you the dollar signs. Now, yes, you could look at this, and two, it does show you how much revenue each page brought in, right here on the screen, just in this table naturally. So if you just change this to organic traffic, and you know, one of these frequently asked questions, so you know your frequently asked questions page in this instance isn't bringing you any revenue, but ideally it would be bringing you revenues. So that's just behavior, site content, and landing pages. I hope that answers that question.
And also, I mean, again, reverting back to what you kind of said towards the beginning is, it is a bit of an average. Like, you're not going to get every single data point. So to Dan's point of, you know, maybe there is an outside influence. We even kind of talked about this we were talking with Dr. Pete the other day is, yeah, I mean, sometimes there are outside influences, and that's why it's important to be monitoring trends and being able to do your best to monitor anything that's happening outside of the bubble that you control. Google News Alerts is a huge one. Obviously, if you're doing a big trade show and you see a huge spike, I mean, correlation isn't always causation, but it definitely points you in the right direction a lot of times.
Right. And so that was another point I meant to make. So I'm glad you brought that up, is to use this annotations tool. I know it's not the best and it's not very pretty, but you can always come in here. I like to come in here and say, you know, we launched this blog post, or maybe we visited this trade show, just so you can kind of see what you've done. And ideally, like you're saying, it's not always, you know, correlation isn't always causation, but it's nice to kind of have an idea of what's been going on. Are there any more questions before I move on to?
No, looks like that's all we have for right now.
Okay, cool. So I'm actually going to jump into Moz and show you a couple ways that, you can prove value using most of these tools. All have similar functionalities that you can use to prove value. So in Moz, for instance, if you look at the dashboard, so you can track your search visibility versus a competitor's. While this is not tied to revenue specifically, a lot of people like to see that they're doing better than the people they don't like. So here you go, you just do it right here, and they like to see that. So you can show them very quickly, like, yeah, we're doing a lot better than this other person that we wanted to beat out for whatever keywords. So these are based off of the keywords that I've set. You can, like I said, so some people might want to just track, like, they may only be looking at, like, we want to rank 1 through 3 more, or we want to rank for more keywords. So that's why it's really nice to have another, like, SEO software. Doesn't really matter which one you use, they all have slight differences, so you can look for the one that best fits your needs. And there are a few different ways to pull value from the keywords that you're ranking for. So one way is you could download all of this into a Excel sheet, and then I'll bring this up really quick actually. So you would need what you rank for a specific keyword, the number of searches that keyword gets, the cost per click for each keyword, and then click-through rates for each keyword, or not for each keywords, the ranking click-through rates for each position. So this is just Smart Insights data that I have linked here. Again, all of this is ballpark. So you're working off of estimates, but it allows you to say, hey, let me see, I will share this screen now. So what I did for this instance, was I downloaded all of those keywords. I put them through probably the least accurate data point here, which was just putting it into Keyword Planner, which is not, I wouldn't suggest that, but you could do it that way if you want it to do it the easiest way, because I had so many keywords. There's like 200 keywords on here. I just put it all through Keyword Planner, and Moz gave me the search volume and where we rank. Then I just changed the rankings to what Smart Insights said their click-through rates were, and multiplied it by the cost per click that Google Ads estimated it would be. So by ranking, theoretically, by ranking first or second, I guess is what first and second for Brian Fanzo, we've brought in, we've saved $60, right? So if you compare it to that, to the question of, how do you compare the ROI for the paid versus the organic? This is another way you could kind of do that, is say, look, we've saved $60 by ranking for this organically. There are a lot of easier ways to do this. One is to just use your search consult data. So if I get out of here and share this instead. So if we go into, oh no, the bar got in my way. All right. Stop, go away. Sorry, the Zoom bar, there it is. I needed to move it.
Always gets in the way.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so if you go to Search Engine Console, it'll show you all of this right here. So we got 150 clicks on this, or 155 clicks on this specific keyword, and it says each click is worth $2.89-ish. Then that right there is $447 that we just saved because we ranked for it organically and we got that many clicks. Again, like I said, for me, the biggest thing is putting dollar signs. That's going to be the easiest way that the client is going to understand most of the time. Now, I'm not saying you don't need to educate your clients on the importance of SEO outside of the dollar signs. I'm just saying, especially when you're trying to sell to clients, If your retainer is on the line in situations like this, where you need to prove that value very quickly and very tangibly, these are all different ways that you can kind of pull the numbers in a way that they're going to understand. So what you might do is just export all of this. Let's throw it in a Google Sheet real quick. I'm gonna move this Zoom bar again. Cool. And then just drop in your little formula here. So we're going to do, oh, it didn't bring in the cost per click. Rude. Hold please. Does it not pull cost per click out of here?
Thought it did.
I thought it did too.
Is it on a different tab at the
Here
bottom?
it is. Yeah. Let's see.
Maybe.
What?
I can't remember. I haven't exported forever.
This is really easy to do in Google Data Studio, though. I really thought that it pulled it, but maybe it doesn't. So clicks, position, click through rate. Okay, well, do it in Data Studio. It'll be a lot easier anyway. And then you just get to keep it. But yeah, ideally, you would just have all of the clicks, the cost per click right here. You just put in your little formula, multiply the cost per click times the click and or the number of clicks, and then you've got your value right there. Let's see here. So too, like you can, like moving up in the rankings too, you can kind of say like, oh, we got X more clicks from moving up, which means we've made 30 more or saved $30 more because of the work that we've put in for search engine optimization or through search engine optimization. Do we have any more questions popping up in the chat?
No, looks like we're good for right now.
Okay, cool. Well, there were a lot less questions than I was expecting. I don't know if this dashboard would be valuable to anyone. If they want it, they can just drop something in the chat and I can share it with them, I guess. Or they can just shoot me an email or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's really, those are all kind of, like I said, the big value specific data points. Obviously, I mean, you want to know if you have a client that you've educated on the importance of like people coming into the website, spending time on the website, going through the website, then this site content, like all pages and just going to organic, can really show you, or not all pages. I keep doing that. I do that for something else. Landing pages can really show you which pages are bringing in the most qualified traffic. I was going to show you how Search Engine Console looks in here, but with the demo view, it's not enabled. So can't really do that. But
we did have another question coming in from Dan here. Dan saying, how would you recommend finding the right balance between reporting and marketing action items? We love detailed ROI-focused reporting, but it's a time-consuming effort. The more time we spend on reporting, the less work we can provide to our clients. That's a really good point. And I think that's probably something that you can almost apply to almost every element of SEO, is trying to demonstrate that value seems to be such an upward hill battle that, like Dan was saying, like putting all that time and effort into demonstrating your ROI, you almost then diminish your returns of investment.
Absolutely.
You're trying to prove your returns on investment.
Right. So when I first started at the first agency I worked at, they were doing all of the reports monthly by hand. And they had, I couldn't even tell you how many clients. So somebody would literally spend 40 hours the first week of the month pulling all the reports. That is not feasible. You can't spend that much time reporting, because then you've cut out 25% of your month just to reporting. So that is a very valid point. And in my eyes, hopefully you're not having to prove your value all of the time to a client. For me personally, that wouldn't be a great relationship. I wouldn't consider that a great relationship. Like if I can prove my value to you the first or second time, then the trust should be built. And maybe this is something you do like quarterly. I encourage most people to go to more of like a quarterly report anyways when it comes to SEO. Now, action items though, that reporting on that is generally monthly, at least for me. And two, I would say make use of those automated reports. So if I set up like that dashboard, I can have it emailed to me weekly, daily, monthly, whatever I want. So if you created a dashboard, or again, you did it in Data Studio, then you can have those emailed to you, write a quick summary, and then email it to the client. Saving that time is really important. I do suggest automating your reporting whenever and wherever possible. But yeah, so ideally you would do this to either sell to a client or to create something that's automated where they can see the numbers when they want to see the numbers. And because, yeah, I mean, the goal is to be focused on the action items and do the work, not to be constantly proving value. You really shouldn't have to constantly prove your value. That's going to turn into a toxic relationship very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see that being the case for sure.
All right.
Looks like that's all the questions that we had there. If you guys do have any other questions, looks like we're getting close. We're already almost 1:45 here. So if you guys do have questions, we are getting close to wrapping this up. So be sure to pop those in the chat or in the Q&A box down at the bottom there.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a little sporadic when you're doing those walkthroughs. That can be a little interesting, but like I said, I hope everybody got something valuable out of that, and that if they do want any of those dashboards or anything like that, I would be happy to share some of those.
Dan followed up here saying, some of our clients are very reluctant to share the information needed, or just flat out do not know the information needed to calculate metrics like lifetime value of user, average value of lead. What would you recommend in this case?
Dan, it sounds like
Those are excellent questions, Dan. Sounds like you're working through some stuff right now.
Yes. Dan, can we send you a coffee? Do you need a beer? We got you. No, it sounds like we've been in some similar situations here. Yeah, I mean, for me in that case, I would focus more on, you know, like we were saying with these things, focus on, you know, the value of 155 clicks where you could have been paying $3 per click for each of those. And then, I mean, in that case, you're not going to be able to put a ton of dollars or a ton of things with dollar signs, right? Those are trickier situations. In that case, you're really going to be having to focus more on the things like, you know, new sessions brought by your organic, how active are they on the pages, and things like that, because you don't have that concrete number. Even if you don't have a concrete number, though, I do encourage you set up goals, even if they're micro goals. So you can say, if somebody gets 3 pages deep, we're going to consider that a win, right? If they hit whatever metrics you lay out, whether it's pages visited, if they look at a specific page, because I know like sometimes people use Stripe checkouts and then they leave the site altogether. If you know they've gone to a pricing page or a page where they're getting information that's close to the end of the funnel, make that a goal and then track those goals right here. Because like you can see here, I can change this to just goal 1, and you can see how many people completed the goal. And then, you know, again, comparing this number from the people, all users versus organic users. That's really what I like to show people, or the organic versus non-organic, if that makes sense. I hope that helps, Dan.
And I mean, I've had friends that do a lot of like data tracking, and they've run into
Yeah.
similar issues as well. And one thing that I've seen them do when their clients are reluctant or maybe ignorant to like what their lifetime value of their customers are, like where some of these
Mm-hmm.
like real concrete numbers are supposed to be at. And I think that a lot of that boils down to, like you mentioned, like it's just an opportunity to educate.
Yes.
It seems like that could be a very good opening to a conversation
Yep.
of why those things are valuable. And one of the things that I've seen some of my friends do is just plugging in like just a dummy number.
Yeah.
Just finding, let's say you don't know if their actual checkout average is $44.18.
Mm-hmm.
Like throw $50 in there and just show them like what that number is. And if they're really reluctant or protective of their numbers, that's fine too. Just give them the formula and
Yeah.
leave as much of it as X as you can, and fill in all the other bits and let them do the calculation on their end so that they can see that value for themselves. They might have to do a little bit of work, but if they're not willing to share that information, then I think that might be kind of the trade-off you have to come to conclusion with.
Right. I really like using that ballpark number too, because even if you, I mean, guesstimate, you can still show them like these are the kind of differences in the kind of value that you'll be able to find if we do plug a number in here. So I like that. Even too, I've even heard people say that when you can just guess, like if somebody looks at the purchase page, just guess what that value might be. So when you create a goal, you can assign a value to a goal, even if there's not one already linked to it natively. So for the free users, like I was saying, we put in $45 because we guesstimate that's about what a free user is going to spend over their lifetime. And that allows you to do a lot more analysis like this too. Even if it's not the concrete number, it is that ballpark and it still helps to prove value.
The other trick I've seen is just Data Studio. Just when you find that number that you are able to really show, like make sure that's prominent, make sure that they can see
Yes.
that, where as they're tracking, they can readily, I mean, like as I was saying before, most people aren't going to want to have to do the calculations themselves. They want
Right.
to quickly be able to check in, and that's why they're off sourcing this work to us or you or
Mm-hmm.
whoever, is because they're not wanting to have to do the nitty gritty of that. So being able to find some of those numbers, again, even if it's a stand-in number, and being able to display that big and bold right in the front of
Yeah.
data video is super beneficial stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And use it as leverage too, because this isn't just proving our value as freelancers or as agencies. If you're in-house, use this too. You know what I mean? Like show people that you're getting stuff done. And if you're working towards a big raise, now you know how to show them how much money that you've you've generated them, right?
Exactly. Another question just came in. So how do you convince a client to focus on a keyword that has lower search volume and is more attainable when they think they should be target a head term that is ultra competitive? Ooh, we do
Oh,
see that
that's
a lot.
yes, yes, a whole lot actually. Yeah, that's good. So, a few things. If I like to just show them the competitiveness number, in or the competition number in most tools, you can actually see who is already ranking. So my favorite is when like an e-com client is like, I want to rank for this keyword, and the first like three rankings are Amazon, and you're like, okay, so you got how
We're
much
going to
money
need a
do you have?
bigger budget.
Yeah, how much money do you have?
And how much
So
time do you have?
yeah, exactly. So I like to just pull up the SERP analysis. Like I said, most tools have similar um, features here. So I like to pull up the SERP analysis so that they can see it. And then also, just show them the difficulty and let them know. And another one too is if you're already bringing in, so let's say you rank on the 4th page, but you've gotten 3 clicks to the site from that keyword, right? And they're just really gung ho on that keyword. Show them what those 3 clicks did on the website. Because the reality of it is they probably didn't do anything of value. And while you can show that you've had 3 clicks from a less competitive, more high intent keyword, and it's generated $75 or something like that, right? Then you can kind of hopefully sway them and say, do you want to focus on the more $75 or do you want to focus on the $0? Yeah,
And
I feel.
sorry, I didn't mean to jump in front of you.
No, you're fine.
But I something that has stuck in my mind. I mean, I've known this forever, since basically getting into SEO, but at the same time, I was talking with one of our previous guests, Ryan Megdes, and he pointed out just how much of a conversion percentage change you get with each position jump. And being able to, I mean, he kind of hit on this a little bit. You guys, if you haven't checked it out, definitely go back and watch that one. He's got a lot of great information there, but he's pointing out like the difference of like jumping one position can be like a 150% increase. Jumping the next position is another 150%. And those numbers are like pretty consistent and they're very real. And I think if you can even show those numbers in a scenario where you are, again, to Dan's point, throwing in a dummy number of what those conversion values are and say, look, hey, if we jump one ranking factor on this low hanging fruit that's lower volume, and being able to show what that actually translates to using that calculation to show, look, this is actually a $10,000 per month increase.
Yeah.
Spending $10,000 and not really seeing any movement on a crazy huge head term, that's a lot harder to justify when you're trying to compete for something, when it's like, okay, sure, you still want to be competitive on those things, but like that's like your Everest. You can keep training for that, but like you need to climb some smaller hills before you're able to do that. Right. And I think that being able to see those numbers is really helpful.
Right. So too, I mean, like focusing on, it's kind of the same thing as like when you're setting up your goals, like focusing on, the timeline. Like generally you want to start with your quick wins. Like let's make some money off of this quick. And then like you're saying, have that Everest, like, okay, so first we're going to start with this hill and then maybe a little bit bigger of a hill. And then we'll start looking at mountains. So let's make some money on this first. So I like that suggestion.
Yeah.
Dynamic phone call tracking. Okay, so Dan just asked, what are your thoughts on website dynamic phone call tracking? We initially felt this would help fill a missing piece of our conversion cycle, but lately the numbers are picking up spammer and bots. Trying to decide if this is causing more skewed data than the benefit we hoped it would create. Oh, fun. I would be interested in so are you just tracking the number of phone calls, or do you have like an actual call tracking like analytics service?
Yeah, I wasn't too sure either. Can you explain what you mean by that a little bit more?
Number changes based on traffic source. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't done too much other than like within like a call tracking platform, in which case you can listen to the phone calls and then just take them out of the
right.
You can.
Yeah.
Number. Right. Do you have any idea on this one, Ben? I'm gonna divert to you.
I don't. I'm actually not super familiar with any sort of phone call tracking. Is that done through Google Analytics or is that through a different platform?
I've always done it through a different platform. I don't think so. I know like on Google My Business, you can track.
Oh, okay. I see. I was so like gung-ho in analytics. I was like, how do you track calls? Okay, Google My Business, duh. That makes way more sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I know you can track it. Okay, it appears in Google My Linux. Okay, so you use CallRail. Okay, so you should
CallRail
be
is what I was
able
thinking
to.
of too, actually.
Yeah, me too, but I didn't want to say it if that's not what he's using. Okay. Yeah, so you should get recordings of those phone calls. I would just pay someone to listen to the phone calls after they sign like an NDA and then just take that data out. But that is a lot of work. So I guess it sort of depends on how much work you're wanting to put into it. Again, I guess it's kind of just like everything. That data is always going to be skewed in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the phone calls.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I mean, I think getting down to kind of the core of what you're asking there is how much are these spam bots
Yeah,
and scammers like skewing your information? Um, I mean, I think that's just kind of par for the course. I would say that probably not any more than, random bots crawling your site are going to skew
exactly.
your site. I think take it in stride. It's hard to know exactly what it is. And again,
Hmm.
sorry, my ignorance on call tracking. I'm not super familiar with it, but I would say that just kind of keep in mind, like look at the total number and try to compensate for that as much as you can. Again, long-term trending data is going to be your best friend when it comes to that sort of stuff. And geez, hopefully, hopefully the spam calls just stop. I get so many. I get
Yeah.
like my phone's connected to my business account, and it's like I nonstop. I get 5 text messages every single day,
Hmm.
trying to get me to check on my missing package or something.
Yeah.
It's tough. But overall, I mean, I would say do the best you can. I'm not exactly totally familiar with how CallRail does their tracking, but
Yeah.
maybe
If you can like
filtering, maybe.
el- eliminate the people that, I'm big on filters, so like filter out maybe the people that spent less than 0 seconds on the phone. But then you have to worry about too, like, was the phone not picked up? I don't know. Or you could just ballpark and say about 10% of these are going to be spammers. You know what I mean? Again,
That's a great question. I mean, I hope you find a really solid answer. You should let us know if you do find something interesting, because
yeah,
again,
for
like
sure.
we've we've looked into CallRail, we've looked into a few different tracking platforms too. I think it's really valuable, but again, I'd be curious to see what you find.
All right.
Awesome.
Any last questions? Or are we
I
good?
think everything's closed out as of right now. I don't see any other questions. Dan says, thanks for all the great info. Appreciate the answers. Good to know we're alone in many of these cases. Awesome. Cool.
Yes.
Thanks, Dan. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. We're just hitting the top of the hour. That was a perfect amount of time. Um, yeah. Anything else you had to close up?
Um, no, not really. If you guys want to find me or connect, I mostly hang out on Twitter, and I'm just Brie_E_Anderson. But I'd love to
Awesome.
connect.
Cool. Well, thank you again so much for joining us, Bree. That was super informative, like I mentioned before we got started. I really love these like nitty gritty, like let's get actionable data and actionable things in here. So that was super great. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, you guys, for joining us. Look forward to talking with you guys next week. We'll see you then. See you, Bree.
See ya.